Hey guys, good morning. So I want to talk to you a little bit about basically different power levels on the GTR, because one of the most common phone calls I get is from guys that just purchased a car, and one of their questions is, how far should I go? I have personally had my car at numerous power levels over the past almost decade now, ranging from full bolt-ons at about 600 horsepower all the way to where it's currently at now, which is around 1500 horsepower mark, 1450, 1500 horsepower. I've had 800 horsepower. I've had it at 1000 horsepower. I've had it at 1300 horsepower. So a lot of different builds over the years. And I've gotten a pretty good experience with the power level, what's treatable, what's not treatable. So that's kind of what I want to talk about this morning. I want to say this. The full bolt-on GTR is the best bang for the buck, I think, out there, especially now on the used market. I mean, when you can pick up a CBA in the, in the 40s, and some of these cars are already full bolt-ons, like it's an incredible value to have a low, 10-second, high 9-second capable car for that kind of money. So I still think that the full bolt-on GTR is a phenomenal bang for the buck. I will say this, in the past, the turbo technology now in the stock turbos is quite dated. I mean, they're cast wheels, they're journal bearing technology. It's an old turbo design. Turbo technology has really improved over the past decade. And now with ball bearing technology and billet wheels, new aerodynamics, you can get, I would say, easily 1000 horsepower that spools practically identical to the stock turbos. I mean, you can lose basically nothing in spool drivability and have a 4-digit horsepower car. I think that in my opinion, in 2020, if I had it to do all over again, and it was my money, if I had to do all over again, I would probably pick up the newest GTR that I could afford, just being completely honest. I would be in a 17 and up, just because I love the new body GTR. I love everything they did on the 17 and up. So that's what I would buy, me personally, with my wallet. But not everybody, has that sort of budget. So I would pick up the newest car that I could afford. I'll word it that way. And I would definitely do full bolt-ons, and I would do a turbo upgrade. Right now, 2020, I would say the fastest spooling turbos out there for 3.8 liter stock engine are either the G25 660 or something based around the 3071. That's what we call our SBD 900R turbo kit. We're actually using both of those turbochargers. We use the 3071 spec in our Gen 2, and in our Gen 3, we'll be using a turbocharger design based off the G25 660 architecture. So that turbo technology literally spools like stock, like a stock turbo car. And the drivability is phenomenal. You can easily make 850 horsepower on the stock motor, and you can easily make 1000, maybe as high as 1100 horsepower on a built motor application. In regards to the higher horsepower levels, it's loaded because, I'm not going to say that my car is not fun to drive. I would say that the car now at the 1500 horsepower level is on the verge of being unstreetable on current tire technology. I mean, we're on Motec, and Motec traction control is amazing and it works well, but you can really feel the car fight for traction on the street. On a prep drag strip, it's a very different animal, and you can build a drag car. But on the street, I would say that up to about 1300 horsepower, the tire technology works pretty good. And honestly, at the factory ECU level, I really wasn't having a problem with traction. At the level that the car is currently at, even on the Motec, at full boost, 40 something pounds of boost, it's a lot of power for the street. So it kind of depends on what you want to do with the car. I'm not going to say that like big horsepower is not fun. That would be a lie. But I will say that it's, you do give up some spool. It becomes more of a highway monster, more of a top end car. And it kind of depends on what you're going to do with it. And me, as I've gotten older, me 10 years ago would probably really enjoy the big, power monster. Now with kids and more money and, more success, I guess I should say, there's a lot more liability and there's a lot more to lose. So being able to use that kind of power on the streets, not really viable for me anymore. So looking, me now, I'm 36, I'm almost 37. Me with 2 kids and looking at the different power levels my car has had at this point, knowing that I don't shoot race anymore, those days are long over for me. Building a 1500 horsepower car for just an event car that I'm going to do, I'm going to take to the drag strip every once in a while. I don't have a local drag strip close to me. It's about an hour, a little over an hour away. So, it makes the car something that for the most part tends to sit in the garage, and I drive a lot of my other lower power stuff. And that, I think I'm at a point now where if I had it to do all over again, I would buy, like I said, the absolute newest car I could afford. And I would leave the car on the stock motor. I may do a transmission in it, but honestly, with the new Ecutech software, if you've got the upgraded, DBA seals, if you've got a 2012 and up GTR and you've got the upgraded seals, you can push that stock clutch basket pretty easily at 800 horsepower with no slip. I mean, it works well on Ecutech on their transmission software side. So if it was my money going back, I would probably, knowing where turbo technology is, knowing that I'm not really going to give up any spool over the stock turbos. I drove a guy, Thomas Coe. I drove his car, his SPD 900R car down in Houston last year. And I was just mind blown at how fun that car was to drive. And it made me do some soul searching with my own car for kind of the direction I want to take my car moving forward. As a business owner in this industry, everybody wants to see a halo car. We all know that. So a lot of us have halo cars, but I have a feeling that if you really pull these guys aside and you knew them on a personal level, a lot of them would tell you they wish they'd maybe not gone quite so crazy. Especially if it's their only sports car. If you got a fleet of them, I guess it's one thing, go build a race car, but if it's your only sole, tuner car that you're going to play with, you can build the car past the point of fun because you build it past the point of reliability. And then it becomes an event car that really you can only utilize a handful of times because you go from race to break, race to break. I'm at a point now where I really want more of like that luxury type feel. So I love that 17 and up GTR. It's just very cush. I like the new technology in it. So I would go that path if it was my money. And I would definitely do turbos on stock motor. I mean, I'm completely sold on it. For the longest time, I was just sold on full bolt-ons. Leave it at full bolt-ons because the drivability is so good. And now I'm quite a believer in, like, for example, our 900R kit on the stock engine. I mean, you can have 800 horsepower on the stock motor and stock trans in a 2012 and up car with the upgraded DBA seals that come from the factory on the transmission with the stock clutches. And I mean, you have a car that's literally a 9-second car, maybe mid 9-second car, and reliable and literally pretty much drives like stock. So, that's where I'm at. Like I said, I've had a full variance of power levels, and there's something for everybody. And there's people that are going to watch this video and go, well, I want 1500 horsepower. I have 1500 horsepower now and I love it. Or I have 1800 horsepower, but I don't know. I think most consumers, the older you get, you're looking more for just drivability. And I want something I can drive every day. I don't want something that's sitting in a shop. I don't want something that's going to be a maintenance nightmare. I mean, I have to factor money into this. I wish I had unlimited wealth, but that's not the case. So you do get tired of throwing money at really high horsepower race cars. I mean, at some point in time, it gets old for most of us. And I think that's why you see a lot of guys that have these really high horsepower built GTRs and they end up selling it and they pick up like a stock, R8. Or they pick up a 458, or they tend to go exotic because they've ticked that box. They've experienced the thrill and super high horsepower, but they're kind of over the reliability and maintenance cost. And now they're looking for something to scale it back. So knowing that, to me, if I'm buying into the GTR platform in 2020, I'm going to get the nicest, newest car I can get. And to keep the drivability and to keep the reliability, I'm definitely going to stay stock motor, stock trans. I mean, if I break the trans, sure, I'll put a transmission in it. But really, I think the sweet spot's about 800 horsepower to me. That's where I would keep the stock motor, stock trans. And you can do that for not a terrible ton of money. you're probably going to have about $20,000 in the modifications that the car is already stock. But the odds are very high, especially if you're buying used. These cars are already going to have probably at least full bolt-ons on them or some level of bolt-ons. So there's, $5,000 to $8,000 worth of, effectively free mods in the car. And then really you're just adding, say intercooler and speed density kit and a set of turbos, and a little labor to pull the motor. So that is where my head is. That is where I'm at, having had, I don't know, I think I'm on my 5th or 6th build and I don't know, 3rd or 4th motor in 10 years. So I really, really, really like the drivability of the new turbo technology. I mean, 800 horsepower is like perfect. That's all you need on the street. And the great thing about 800 horsepower is that you don't have to run drag radials 24/7. My power level, you're not going out on a street tire unless you're going to dial the car way back. And that really defeats the purpose of building a car to this level. So for me, I can be on a set of Michelins at 800 horsepower. I can drive the car in the rain. I can daily drive it. I'm not giving up anything. So I can literally daily drive the car at that power level. And to me, for the money, that really is the ultimate bang for the buck, especially if it's going to be the only race car, street car that I'm going to have. So that's my advice. Do with it what you wish.